What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another F1 Villains lovely Saturday. We have the All-American drive. We have Dan Gurney in the Eagle MK1. Shout out to Aiden Millwall. All credit goes to him. Big time. Absolutely amazing. We are finna check it out, and we are finna see what is on. Now, obviously, we had the sprint race today in Qatar, in which Oscar Piastri did win the race. I think Lando gave up his spot for Oscar to win. And that's nice. Hey, bromance. You know, that's the love. You know, that's the teammate. Like, you know, hey, like, I want to see you win as well. Yeah, I'm winning, but I want to see you win as well. Now, and very much am looking forward to next season, seeing how McLaren does. Can McLaren do this for the whole season now? Let's see. Now, did see Checo Perez? All right, I'm not gonna touch too much on Checo, man. I feel bad for bro. Honestly, I very feel bad for Checo Perez. Because at this point, bro, he's about to get the Latifi treatment. Like, at this point, every time I mention Checo Perez, I start laughing. Because the thing is with Checo, I know that this video is not about Checo, but just a quick thought on Checo in this video, he's not this bad. Checo Perez is not this bad to be doing this bad this year. I mean, my God, especially Red Bull standard. See, I shake your head. But anyway, let me start with the video. Hope you guys are doing good and amazing. Hope you guys enjoy a great Thanksgiving. Let's get it. Oh, Checo, man.
There is that weird thing, isn't there? There's loads of South American and European drivers that have gone to America and been, moderately successful. But when it comes to American drivers coming over to Europe and doing Formula One, the results are very few and far between. The statistics.
You guys let me know the greatest American driver in F1 history. I think it's pretty easy. I would assume it's either Dan Gurney or it's Andretti, because
statistics will show there have been a lot of American drivers to have participated in
Don't say Scott
one round
Speed
of the Formula One World Championship. But those stats are quite skewed due to the fact that for the first decade or so of the World Championship, the Indy 500 was part of it. So there has been a total of 57 American drivers, of which only 2 have become world champion. Phil Hill in 1961 and Mario Andretti in 1978, although there is a lot of debate as to whether Mario Andretti is Italian, American or Croatian, if you follow modern boundaries. Now, American drivers that have driven in at least one World Championship race, Indy 500
Skip
or
Barber,
not,
that's the
include
name.
some names from the American racing
That's
royal
the name.
family.
Skip
Mario
Barber.
Andretti, Michael Andretti that now wants to have his own Formula One team,
Which he
Skip
has.
Barber, Eddie Cheever in the 80s for Arrows, Bob Bondurant, who helped pull Jackie Stewart out of his BRM at Spa in 1966, Richie Ginther, and Carroll Shelby, to name a few. Now, if the one you're thinking of isn't in the list, I haven't forgotten them. Today, the United States is represented by the Haas team, which seems to have times where it punches well above its weight, like having a quick qualifying car in 2016, to being the joke of the field in 2020. As for American drivers, despite a brief appearance from Alex Rossi in 2015, the last American driver to complete a full season was Scott Speed. Now, at the time of this video being made, it looks like Logan Sargent will be the next American driver to be full-time in Formula One. But back in the 1960s, there was another American team, one of the 3 so-called driver teams of that era. I say so-called, I've literally just made that term up. But what it was 3 teams started by racing drivers. There was Brabham, set up by Jack Brabham, McLaren, set up by Bruce McLaren, and the All-American Racers, set up by one Daniel Gurney. Now, if you've not heard of Dan Gurney, that's okay. But Dan Gurney was one of the pivotal characters in American motorsport and was a noted figure in motorsport as a whole. He had a raft of experience and was from a family of bright-minded people. His father, John, graduated from the Harvard Business School with a master's degree, and his 3 uncles were all engineers educated at the world-renowned Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Damn. Bro got a pretty good history in his family, smart, engineering, master degrees. Seemed like Dan Green, he knew what he wanted to do in that flight. You know what I mean? He knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he wanted to do, man.
Technology, or MIT as it's more commonly known. So by age 19, Gurney was part of the hot rod culture and even competed on the Bonneville Salt Flats. Eventually, Gurney was racing full-time in motorsport, and in 1957 he was test driving a sports car that even Ken Miles said was undrivable. Carroll Shelby as well, for that matter. But despite this, he managed to finish second in that race, beating Carroll Shelby, and this got the attention of Ferrari. By 1959, Gurney was in Formula One, and in 1960, in a BRM, he suffered brake failure at Zandvoort and crashed heavily, the crash killing a young spectator. After this, he'd give the brakes a confidence tap before applying, something you see V8 supercar drivers do all the time to make sure the pads will bite, and developed a braking style that allowed him to nurse the brakes in endurance races, such as at Le Mans, where he would win in 1967
Yeah,
in the
24
Ford
hours.
GT40. This was also the first time someone had sprayed champagne on a podium. It's now a tradition, although Jackie Stewart claims he was the first to do it at Clermont-Ferrand in 1969, unless Jackie's saying he was the first to do it in a Formula One race. I don't know. But some of the interesting things about Gurney racing at Le Mans is that the Ford GT40 was 40 inches tall, hence the 40. And Gurney had a very awful time fitting himself into that car.
Damn.
And if you've seen any pictures
Bro,
of Gurney
Joe?
in his 1.5 litre Formula One cars from the early 60s, he does look a little bit odd, as he's trying to squeeze himself into those tiny F1 cars of that time.
Damn, he's too skinny or was he too chubby?
6'4" of him. Now, I can't think of many
crap.
racing drivers.
Jesus. Now, I'm like 6'1", 6'2". Yes. It's hard to tell through the video, but I am like 6'1", 6'2". I think that's a pretty, good height. I know Yuki's like 4 feet, but I think 6'1", 6'2" is a pretty good height. Like, George Russell looks tall, you know what I mean? So, 6'6". Jesus. Yeah, George Russell's 6'1". So, hey, we about the same height,
Who
Shout out to
were
my 6 foot
taller, at
dogs.
least since Formula One became a world championship in 1950. I can only think of Matt Neal, who is 6'6". For comparison, Justin Wilson was 6'3".
Ooh.
Russell and Ocon are 6'1". I don't know. Answers on a postcard, please.
I don't think
Such was
6'1"
the
is
issue that
bad,
Gurney
though.
had to fit into that Ford GT40.
6'4"
They had
is
to make
tall.
a special bubble in the roof. You might have seen some GT40s from the late 1960s with a small hump in the roof. That was called the Gurney bubble, and it was literally there so that Gurney could fit his head and helmet into the car without basically being like this for his entire driving stint. It's like Clarkson being in that hill climb again. This is the best car, pause, in the world. Or however it went. But in 1962, Gurney and Carroll Shelby were discussing the potential of entering a full-up American team into Formula One. The sport was dominated by the British and the Italians.
I figured
The
that.
Garagista teams
Ferrari.
of BRM, Lotus, Cooper and Brabham, and the Italians basically being just Ferrari with Enzo's power, stature and mythical status as a racing god. Now, funnily enough, Gurney was the first driver to be hired by Jack Brabham, and he won the team's first race as a two-driver outfit in 1964.
That's what's
With
up.
Carroll Shelby's partnership and the backing of Goodyear, who were after Firestone's domination of racing at that time, the team became known as the All-American Racers, having its base in Santa Ana, California, which is part of Los Angeles. And yes, I'm doing my hardest to not say All-American Rejects right now. The goal with this project was simple: win the Formula One World Championship in an American-built car. Now, would you like some bonus information regarding constructors' titles won by a car outside of the UK?
AAR.
Well, that number is currently 17. 16 of those are Ferrari. The 17th, Matra, in 1969. The only championship winner to be built outside of the UK or Italy. Quite mental when you think about it. And this is probably also a spoiler. Dan Gurney never won the title in his All-American car.
Damn.
However, when the first All-American racing car was built in 1966...
Oh, wait. Okay. Hear me out, chat. The car doesn't look too bad. It doesn't. It looks straight. It looks cool. It looks feasible. It looks drivable. But we just have a freaking big ass exhaust pipe or whatever that is in the back. I mean, we couldn't cover that. Hey, I know I'm being greedy, probably being a bit touchy. Oh, Jazz, calm down, man. Listen. It's just a
small
thought.
four-cylinder climax
Just
engine
a
that
thought.
was, for want of a better
Just a
word,
thought.
obsolete. It was later replaced by a Westlake V12, and since the car was built in America and the engine being built in Britain, the team was renamed, at least for Formula One purposes, the Anglo-American Racers.
The Anglo.
Now, while the team was officially called the Anglo-American Racers, the car itself was called the Eagle. Because America. And actually, Gurney
American
hated
Eagle.
the name All-American Racers at first because it sounded too nationalistic. And having looked at pictures for an extended time, probably for the first time with this car has to be one of the most beautiful racing cars.
That's what I'm saying.
Ever
It looks straight.
The front of the car having an almost beak-like design, like an eagle, come to think of it. And it's just a very smoothly shaped car with not a lot of unnecessary bits and pieces sticking out, particularly around the engine.
The two versions of the car were built, one for Formula One and one for IndyCar, and time spent building both meant that for all but 2 races of the Formula One season, that is at least for 1966, the team had to run the awful Climax engine. The relationship with Westlake was due to one of the BRM engineers Gurney knew going to Westlake, and a test engine producing 450 horsepower was so good, Gurney commissioned it for the Eagle car.
That's pretty good.
Now, when the first 3 cars were built, it had aluminium.
It's a very
alloy.
nice car.
But as time went on into 1967, the fourth, Chassis 104, had titanium and later magnesium alloy panels. Now, given last time I was talking about the Honda Time Bomb, that might be a surprise. Now, despite a couple of comments trying to correct me on saying Honda was the first to use magnesium panels, which I never said, Honda wasn't actually the first to do it. Now, what's interesting about this is that the Eagle was using titanium or titanium alloys on this car. And titanium is lighter than aluminium.
Yeah,
the problem was, as the CIA, NASA, the USAF, and Lockheed had while building the SR-71 Blackbird, is that a lot of the titanium they needed was in the Soviet Union.
Hey,
and
that was in Call of Duty.
way that the Soviet Union, just a few years after we nearly annihilated ourselves with nuclear weapons in 1963, was going to sell titanium to the Americans. Long story short, the CIA set up fake companies to acquire this titanium, and Lockheed, at the Skunk Works, built this Mach 3.5 spy
I'm not surprised.
and
I'm
Gurney
not
actually
surprised.
knew that he was driving a ticking time bomb. One fiery crash, and that was it. He actually compared the car to driving a Ronson cigarette lighter.
That's scary.
But despite this
That's
new
very
lighter
scary.
car, and despite getting the car onto the front row 11
That's
times
scary.
during the 1967 season, the
But
cars
they
kept
better than me.
breaking down. But Gurney would win the 1967 Belgian Grand Prix, which was the first for an American-registered car, and only one of 2 times it's actually been done. The other was Roger Penske's car at Austria in 1976. Now, it has to be noted here that the Belgian Grand Prix win was done in the titanium magnesium, or Timag, car, which was introduced at the previous race at Zandvoort. But despite the win at Spa and a podium at Motorsport in Canada, Gurney would retire from all of the other races. But weirdly, the problems experienced came from supplementary parts of the car. They came from fuel pumps, spark plugs, things like that. Never an actual problem from the engine, as the Westlake V12 turned out to be an absolute tank.
So like you said, the engine was fine with the car. It was just everything else was just basically trash. Just keeping it buck. Like everything else wasn't great. Like I said, like the Timag, titanium, magnesium, basically one hit and it could be GGs. Just wasn't a great car, but the engine did its job, which is surprising because you see how many issues the car had, and for it to win a race at Spa and then come in. And to have a race, they come in third.
In 1969, the car
ran
ran again, but the team was running out of money, and the team entered a few races using a McLaren chassis for part of that season. It's mad in a way because Bruce McLaren was teammates with Dan Gurney in 1967. McLaren was driving Gurney's car, and now Gurney was driving McLaren's car. And it also meant that Gurney drove for all 3 of those driver teams during the 1960s. Brabham, himself, and McLaren, driving for McLaren during 1970. At the end of the 1968 season, the Anglo-American Racers would close up its UK-based team and permanently run itself out of the Santa Ana HQ, where it concentrated itself more on USAC racing, which was America's premier open-wheel series at that time. During this period, the USAC series, of which the Indy 500 was the main event, started to lose money. A lot of money. Promised prize purses never materialised, and the team owners were starting to become more and more upset by the
So we just racing for free?
Gurney was the one that everybody turned to for help, because he'd seen how Formula One did things and how it was working in Europe. Then in 1978, Dan Gurney wrote what was called the Gurney White Paper, basically outlining how the series should be run, taking inspiration from how Formula One did things with sponsorship and how Bernie Ecclestone was now running the series in terms of the commercial rights and TV revenue and all of that stuff. So once it was all done, a few revisions later, the whole thing became what we now know as kart, now IndyCar. Dan Gurney is the quiet one of motorsport's revolutionaries, at least on this side of the Atlantic. The Gurney flap was a game changer and possibly another video, producing rear downforce with little drag as well as the American-built racing car, and he's only one of 3 drivers to win the big 4 of track racing.
Right.
That being Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and sports cars. The other 2 are Juan Pablo Montoya and Mario Andretti.
And
Gurney died in 2018, aged 86, but will always be remembered as one of motorsport's legends, and also producing one of motorsport's most beautiful cars. So then, a look at Dan Gurney, the Eagle Mark I, and the All-American Racers. If you've learned something new here today, then do give the video a thumbs up so the algorithm...
The All-American Racers.
Actually, views are up at the minute, which is absolutely brilliant. And if you want to see more stuff like this, then get subscribed and also get that bell on as well, so you never miss out on anything I do around here. Massive shout out to the
All-American Racers. That's a really interesting name. But Gurney didn't have the success he probably felt he could have had in F1 with like his team, stuff like that. What he managed to do and what he managed to bring and stuff like that, and just really introducing the Americans, having an American team in F1, like you said, was kind of new at the time because we had teams really from Britain and Italy. They have like a one-off. It's like the freaking polar bear in Texas. What are you doing here? But very, very good to see Dan Gurney. Always. Now I get it. Now I understand it. Hope you guys did enjoy the video as always. Hope you guys learned something new like I did. Don't forget to like the video and sub as well. Yeah. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.